Hello and welcome to our National Common Entrance Examinations preparations for 2020. We're going to be taking our comprehension path first, and we're going to be considering the 2016 question paper. Since this is a 23-day tutorial, we're going to be taking parts of the question paper in bits of 5 questions each, and then we will be seeing how well we will do at the end of the week in a simulation of the National Common Entrance Examinations on Saturday. So without much ado, let's delve in. You're welcome. The comprehension is usually some kind of tricky for most students who write the National Common Entrance Examinations. There is no idea out there that it is an easy thing to do, most especially when you know that it is how well you understand the passage that determines whether you get the questions right. But there is something I want to say to you as a matter of relief. It's okay not to get 100% on the English section, because the comprehension parts are made up of 2 passages, and these 2 passages are usually either a mixture of explicit and implicit passages, or implicit passages and explicit passages on their own. What do I mean by implicit and explicit passages? Implicit passages are passages that you will have to take implied meaning from. Explicit passages are passages where the answers are just there in your eyes. However, we here have come up with a 3-step technique that could help you find the answers to any comprehension passage that you have. First, you read the passage for a general feel. Secondly, you read the questions, and with one question focused on at a time. Thirdly, read the passage again. So let's see how that works. Let's take passage 1 of the 2016 National Common Entrance Examinations. The instruction was, read the following passages carefully and answer the questions that follow by choosing the most appropriate of the options lettered A to E, number 1 to 10. As you well know, the comprehension passage section is made up of 10 questions. The first passage has 5 questions. The second passage has another 5 questions. Like I said earlier, it might be a mixture of the 2 passages, or it might be one passage for one type of passage, either the implicit or explicit for passage 1, or the implicit or explicit for passage 2. So let's read the passage together. Passage 1. There were once 2 good friends who were neighbors. One of them was very tall and thin, and the other was very short and fat. One day they went for a walk in the forest. Suddenly, they saw a wild pig in the path. The 2 friends were terrified and ran back along the path out of the forest. The wild pig started to chase them. He had nearly caught up with them when the thin man jumped up and climbed a tall tree. The fat man was too fat to climb after his friend. Now he was even more frightened. His friend had left him all alone, and he could not run any more. Then he remembered an old tale that wild pigs do not eat dead men. So he lay on his back and pretended to be dead. Up came the pig and sniffed all around the fat man. He sniffed loudly in his ear. The fat man did not move. At last, the wild pig decided the man was really dead and sadly went away into the forest. The fat man sat up sweating all over from fear. His friend climbed down from the tree from which he had seen everything. That was a lucky escape, he said. Now that's the passage. We just read the passage. So remember what our first rule was. Our first rule was that you will read the passage for the feel of the passage. You'd have an idea of how the passage is structured, what the passage is trying to say, general idea. And then you go to the question section. You pick one question at a time. Okay? So let's pick one question. Okay? One question. Okay? It says, the two friends, question 1, the two friends were brothers, farmers, hunters, neighbors, tourists. So you say to yourself, the two friends, who were the two friends? Now you go back to the passage and you begin to read the passage again, paragraph by paragraph. Okay? So let's go. There were once two good friends who were neighbors. You see, the answer right just jumps at you. The answer just comes to you. And you can see it. The answer is actually that they were neighbors. They were neighbors. So my answer is D. Okay? The two friends were D, neighbors. You select and you shade on your answer booklet. Neighbors. Okay? So then we go to the next question. The next question. The two friends saw a wild pig while A, climbing a tall tree, B, playing, C, sleeping, D, taking a walk, E, walking in the bush. Okay? The two friends saw a wild pig while doing, okay? So we're going to go back to the comprehension passage now and say, what were the two friends doing? Okay? So we'll go there. Again, we'll start from the beginning. There were once two good friends who were neighbors. One of them was very tall and thin, and the other was very short and fat. One fine day, they went for a walk in the forest. So what they were doing was walking in the forest. Okay, walking in the forest. So we're going to go to the question again, and then we will pick out the option. So the two friends saw a wild pig while they were taking a walk. D is taking a walk. D is taking a walk. Okay, so we'll go to the third one. The third question. The third question is, another word that can replace terrified as used in the passage could be cheered, comforted, consoled, frightened, reassured. Now usually when in the common entrance comprehension section you are reading the passage and you see any word in the passage that is either emboldened or italicized, those words are words that will be asked of you in the question section of that passage. So the word terrified is what we are trying to find out what it means. Now normally, if we're going to take it out of context, that is to say, just take the word by its merit, we'll say terrified implies afraid, right? Okay, but then we want to find out in context. What I mean in context is how it relates with the story, how it relates with the passage. So we go back to the passage and we read the passage. We locate where it is that says terrified. Okay, so that's it. There we go. There were once two good friends who were neighbors. One of them was very tall and thin, and the other was very short and fat. One fine day, they went for a walk in the forest. Suddenly, they saw a wild pig in the path. The two friends were terrified and ran back along the path out of the forest. Okay, so what happened? For them to start running in the opposite direction as the pig, they must have been afraid. So it also suits the contextual meaning of the word terrified. Okay, so they were afraid. Okay, so any word we find that is a synonym or nearest in meaning to the word afraid is the answer for terrified. So let's go. A is cheered, B is comforted, C is consoled, D is frightened. Okay, so frightened is our answer. Frightened is our answer. So we take frightened. And then we go to the next question. Okay, According to the passage, the thin man escaped from the pig by A, crying for help, B, jumping and climbing a tree, C, pretending to be dead, D, remembering an old tale, E, running to the forest. As with our 3 rules, we'll go back to the comprehension. So we look out for the answer. Up till where we stopped in the comprehension passage, we hadn't gotten the answer. So we'll start from there. And that's from about the 2 friends were terrified and ran back along the path of the forest. The wild pig started to chase them. He had nearly caught up with them when the thin man jumped up and climbed a tree. There we have it. He jumped up and climbed a tree. So we go back to our question and we look for the answer. Okay. The thin man escaped from the pig by jumping and climbing a tree. That's a tree. Sorry, I keep using this. Okay, the jumping and climbing a tree. Okay, I shouldn't mix the pronunciation for the object with the number. Okay, so this is tree. Okay, so that's our answer for question number 4. That's B. So we will go to question number 5, which is the last number for this section. We will read it and then we'll go back to the passage. Which of these statements is not true according to the passage? A, the pig sniffed loudly into the fat man's ear. B, there was a wild pig. C, there were 3 friends. D, they went for a walk in the forest. E, wild pigs do not eat dead men. Sorry, there's supposed to be men at the end here. Dead men. Okay. Okay, so we'll go back to the comprehension. And I think it should be here. So we look at this. His friend had left him all alone and he could not run anymore. Okay. Then he remembered an old tale that wild pigs do not eat dead men. Okay. So he lay on his back and pretended to be dead. Now, it's the fat man we're talking about. The fat man couldn't climb the tree like the thin man, and he couldn't run anymore. He was alone, and the pig had his focus on him. So he had to think up something, and he just remembered a story that told that wild pigs do not eat dead men. So if you look at the passage, you would agree with me that you can find the answers to these questions pretty easily when you follow these 3 steps. Okay, so the answer for question number 5 is that there were 3 friends. Okay. It looked as though what I was answering was a different thing. Okay, but because I saw the question now and I knew what we were reading, I got an idea of what it was we were talking about. They were 3 friends. Actually, there were 2 friends that were talked about, and we get that feel from reading the passage and going through this technique. So there you have it. The answer for number 5 is C. Okay, that's the only thing that is not true according to the passage. The pig sniffed loudly into the man's ear. There was a wild pig. They went for work in the forest, and wild pigs do not eat dead men. Okay, so I would like to conclude this tutorial by telling you what the purpose of the comprehension passage section is. Number 1, it is to test your vocabulary. Questions are usually asked on synonyms, nearest in meaning words. These words are usually italicized or underlined. The second purpose is to test understanding. Comprehension is another word for understanding, and answers to the questions that follow show how much you understand written English. So stay tuned for the next episode on comprehension preparation for 2020. The next episode is going to have to deal with the next 5 questions from the next passage in the 2016 question. However, I would advise that you go through the passage yourself, make out your answers, and you give us your feedback on what the answers are in the WhatsApp page that we've put you on, and then you anticipate the next video. So from us all here at the Institute for Effective Methodology for Recall and Comprehension, it's bye.